Most of you know that I've been calling for Anthony Joshua to fire Robert Mccraken for well over a year now. Yeah, long before AJ fought Andy Ruiz, probably for the last 2 years, I've been saying here on this channel in videos which are still up, still public, I've been saying AJ should get rid of Mccraken. Nothing personal against Mccraken. I just feel like he's not the guy to take AJ as far as AJ can possibly go in terms of making the most out of his physical potential. With that being said, Rob Mccraken made some comments in the past few days which have caused controversy. He said that he knew Anthony Joshua was concussed in the Andy Ruiz fight, but he let the fight go on anyway. And a lot of people are upset by this because they're saying that this shows Mccraken doesn't have Anthony Joshua's best interests at heart. How could he put a concussed fighter, how could he let a concussed fighter go back in there when he realizes he's concussed? That shows that Robert Mccraken is willing to put his fighter in danger. This is what a lot of people are saying. Now, since that initial comment, Robert Mccraken has come out and qualified his statement by saying maybe using the word concussed was the wrong choice of words. What I was just trying to describe, and I'm paraphrasing here, was the fact that Anthony Joshua was glassy-eyed. His legs weren't quite there. He wasn't where he needed to be. Now, Rob Mccraken was a professional fighter himself, had an extensive amateur career, fought as a pro and all that. So he knows what it's like to be hit and hurt, to be glassy-eyed, to be rubbery-legged. And he knows that you can come back from that in a fight. I'm sure he himself, either in professional fights or in sparring, has come back from feeling like that. Boxing is a brutal sport, people. This is not tiddlywinks, it's not cricket, it's not tennis. This is fighting, this is punching other people in the head. Constantly, all right? Concussions in boxing are like, God, how could I describe it? It's like getting a sprain in football. I mean, that's how common it is, how common concussions are in boxing. It's par for the course. Now, obviously, going into a fight, fighting with a concussion, when you've had a concussion prior to getting in the ring, you don't want to do that because you can get medically assessed and okay, this is definitely a concussion. Let's not put him in the ring. But when you're in the ring, at that point, all bets are off. When you're in the ring, you can get a concussion. A doctor can't come in there and know for sure whether you're medically concussed just from looking at you from ringside. You'd have to have a more thorough assessment. So when you're in the ring, it is what it is. You're fighting. If you're concussed, I mean, who knows? The trainer, Robert Mccraken, is not a doctor himself. He doesn't know for sure, for definite 100% if this is an actual concussion. Whether this is something that AJ will get over quickly or whether it's something that will linger on even after the fight. And I'll give you some examples of fighters who were concussed. Tim Bradley, when he fought Ruslan Provodnikov. Yeah, his trainer, Yoel Diaz, a former fighter himself. Did he know that Bradley was concussed? Bradley said after the fight he was still suffering neurological symptoms. Weeks and I think months after the Provodnikov fight. His speech was slurred and all that kind of stuff. He was concussed pretty early on against Provodnikov when he fought the entire 12 rounds with a concussion. Yeah? And there have been many, many other fighters, trust me, who have suffered concussions in fights and have fought on. Is it dangerous? Yes. Boxing is a dangerous sport. I remember when Ola Afolabi was talking about sparring Vladimir Klitschko. And he was with Klitschko, day in, day out in a Klitschko camp for years. And he said one time he got hit with a right hand from Klitschko in sparring, and he had a headache for about 3 days. A 3-day headache off a right hand from Klitschko. I remember sparring a few times and getting headaches that lasted days. Like, this is a dangerous sport, people. You're you're damaging your brain every time you get in the ring. Truth be told, we think of brain damage as when you get a blood clot on the brain. Now, that's the most severe form of brain damage you can get in boxing. Every time you step in the ring, you're damaging your brain. You're losing brain cells, getting hit in the head. That's the truth of the matter. So, people need to come to terms with the reality of how dangerous this sport is. Yeah? What Rob Mccraken did in letting AJ go back out there, I don't think it was particularly controversial. It happens all the time. I mean, when Marquez got dropped 3 times in the first Pacquiao fight in the first round, should they have let him continue? He went on to arguably win the fight. Was it 2 times or 3 times he was dropped in the first round? I can't remember now. But he went on to arguably win that fight. Right? And he had, it set up the famous 4 fights that he had with Pacquiao. If he'd been stopped in the first round, I mean, we might have never seen the whole Pacquiao rivalry. When Nigel Benn was knocked out of the ring by Gerald McClellan, and obviously what happened to McClellan was terrible, but in the first round, when Nigel Benn was knocked out of the ring by Gerald McClellan back in 1995, Nigel Benn was in desperate trouble. Reg Gutteridge, one of the ITV commentators at the time, said Nigel Benn's eyes were in separate orbit. So they were, his eyes were moving around independently of each other. That's how messed up he was in that first round. His legs were gone. His eyes were all over the place. He was glassy-eyed. Was he concussed? Maybe he was concussed as early as the first round. I don't know. So it is what it is, man. I don't think what Rob Mccraken said was particularly controversial. He wanted to give Anthony Joshua time to see if he could recover. He obviously couldn't. He obviously couldn't shake the effects of what happened in that 3rd round. And, maybe that was signs of a concussion. We've also had Michael Venom Page. He got knocked out in an MMA match several months ago. And he said that Anthony Joshua, in his opinion, was suffering from a concussion before he got in the ring against Andy Ruiz. Because he has been suffering the effects of his concussion that he got getting knocked out in an MMA bout. And he said, he was describing in a Metro newspaper article exactly what those effects have been on him. And he noticed AJ exhibiting some of the same symptoms prior to getting in the ring against Andy Ruiz. So anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. It's happening. I'm out.